My name is Missy Mazzoli. I am a composer, and I am the composer of Breaking the Waves.
And I'm Tom Morris. I'm a theatre director, and I'm the director of Breaking the Waves.
When I told you to take another lover, I lied to you, but
So Breaking the Waves is an opera that premiered in America in 2016, and it's based on the 1996 film by Lars von Trier. And I initially created this in collaboration with the amazing librettist Royce Vavrek, who's my longtime collaborator, and premiered in 2016. And it has come to Europe and it's traveled around the world. We've had 7 productions, but this is the first time that it has come to France.
And I got involved because an opera producer called John Berry said, "This is the most exciting contemporary opera." And it's had 1 production, and he asked me to think about doing a second production for it. And I didn't know how to do it. I didn't understand whether it was the right thing to do, so I went to meet Missy. And when I was talking to her, I realized that she had actually written the character of this person in the film. She'd created a whole character for the central part in the film, this woman called Bess, and that's what the score is. And it's a very, very unusual, very brilliant kind of opera. So I had to do it.
Sure. So, I mean, Breaking the Waves is a story that when it came out as a film, it was very controversial. It deals with a lot of really painful topics, a lot of big ideas. It centers on the story of a woman who is growing up in the Isle of Skye in the 1970s and falls deeply in love with an outsider, someone from outside her strict Calvinist community. And she, after a couple months of wedded bliss with this man, he's severely injured in an accident on an oil rig and is paralyzed from the neck down. And she comes to believe that she has the power to heal him by being with other men. So this was a very sort of, again, controversial, heavy topic to take on, but I see it as a story of a woman in an impossible situation. And everyone around her is telling her what to do. Her husband is telling her what to do. God is telling her what to do. Other members of the church are telling her what to do. Her mother's telling her what to do. And she's left with her own idea of morality and her own path. And this, to me, was a mirror of what women experience every day, and certainly what I experience every day, where the path of acceptable behavior is razor thin. And I thought that this was a very intense, ultimately very musical way of expressing this very complicated idea. It often takes me, 3 to 5 years to create an opera. And so if I'm going to spend that much time on a story, I want it to be something I can continually find new things in, can continually dig into. And this is a story about the nature of faith and loyalty and what it means to be a good person, what it means to have agency as a woman in a woman's body. And that has been just endlessly inspiring.
It's very interesting hearing Missy talking about it. Every time she talks about it, I hear something fresh, actually. And we've been talking about it for 5 years or more. But in the film, there's an extraordinary performance by Emily Watson in the role of Bess. And it's a very understated performance. It means that the audience have to try and imagine what she might be thinking. She's like a mystery. You can't tell whether she's actually making choices or not, or whether she is, I guess, some kind of victim. And what Missy has done in the score is she's given this character agency. So even though the choices she's making are extremely difficult for her, and for the community she's in, and for all the people who love her, she is making choices, and she keeps making choices. And her belief never wavers, or if it wavers, it survives. Her belief, she says in the opera, my talent is that I can believe. And in the end, the opera might look from the outside as if it's a story about suffering and about violence, but it's actually a story about belief in some strange way, and it sees belief under extreme duress. And the energy which Sydney Massaccola, who's singing the role, is bringing to it in this production is absolutely extraordinary. We're inspired by her, and I think audiences will be inspired by her whenever they come and see it.
Prove that you love him.
Well, straight after this, I'm going straight into rehearsal for another show, which is about a doctor in Austria. It's called Dr. Semmelweis, which is playing in the West End in London. Most of the time I direct theatre. I'm also doing some work with a string quartet called the Sacconi Quartet, where they're learning Beethoven's late quartets so they can play them without the music. And Goethe actually said that the late quartets of Beethoven were like 4 old friends talking. And we sort of staged the quartets so that it looks a bit like 4 old friends talking, and the music is played very beautifully. And after that, I'm going to have a rest.
I'm actually currently working on my 5th opera. Breaking the Waves was my 2nd, and I'm currently working on my 5th, which is a commission from the Metropolitan Opera in New York. And it's again a collaboration with the librettist Royce Vavrek and the director Liliana Blaine Cruz. And it's an adaptation of the George Saunders novel Lincoln and the Bardo, which came out about 12 years ago, and is not really about Abraham Lincoln. It takes place in a graveyard. Everyone's in the space between life and death, and I'm having a blast writing that, and that will premiere in a couple of years in New York.
You've nearly finished that, haven't you?
Almost. Yeah.
Bah écoutez, j'ai été saisie par l'intensité de la pièce. J'ai trouvé ça vraiment puissant, fort. Ça résonne aussi avec plein de choses tellement actuelles sur le corps des femmes, la façon dont la religion, la société pense le posséder. Sur le fond, c'est un sujet qui est tellement fort, actuel et c'est aussi assez... Il y a quelque chose d'un peu désespéré, je trouve, dans le spectacle. Avec ce poids ce poids de la religion et ce poids du masculin qui continue à peser dramatiquement sur les femmes. J'ai trouvé ça intéressant, en tout cas que ça donne ça. Et le décor tournant, je trouve ça merveilleux parce que ça permet le changement d'ambiance à chaque fois. Ça permet aussi de passer de ces endroits du bout du monde, la plateforme, le bateau, l'île de Skye. Et c'est hyper représentatif ce décor, symbolique des trois, enfin de ce lieu incroyable.
Ben écoutez, j'ai été très agréablement surpris. Je ne m'attendais pas à quelque chose d'aussi puissant, aussi fort dramatiquement et plein d'émotions. Ça monte, ça commence doucement et au fur et à mesure, c'est émotion sur émotion. C'est très bien mis en scène. Les décors sont très intelligents et parce qu'on peut faire avec peu de choses. On vit des scènes très différentes. Et tout est bien, la musique est surprenante aussi, sans trouver une mélodie à chaque fois, elle est envoûtante. Et je dirais que non, c'était vraiment un grand moment et que ça fait longtemps que je n'avais pas vécu quelque chose à l'opéra de si fort. Voilà.
Moi, j'étais assez surprise parce que je m'attendais à rien du tout. Je suis venue sans connaître vraiment le pitch, l'histoire, etc. Je trouvais ça très dark, très sombre, mais assez réussi. J'ai beaucoup aimé la scénographie. Je trouve que ça fonctionne très bien. Ça permettait de faire beaucoup de choses sur scène, que le plateau tourne comme ça, les entrées, les sorties, c'était hyper fluide. Et surtout, j'ai été bluffée par les interprètes, en particulier le rôle principal, que je trouve non seulement chantait merveilleusement bien, mais aussi joué de manière très très juste. Et donc, je me suis plutôt laissée embarquer par l'histoire. Voilà.
Pilot gets angry.
I thank you for your love. I thank
Wave at the helicopter.
Yes.
I'll watch even from a mile in the sky.
I think it's a frightening world to be an artist in at the moment. The world is very confusing, and if you're young, lots of the resource structures, lots of the professions which used to be available to people to train are now more expensive and more difficult. Certainly in Britain that's true, but it's becoming that way in France as well. And the only advice I can give is trust your vision and trust your ambition, because the only way you can discover how to tell a story, how to write music, how to direct a play, how to be a singer, is by doing it. So trust your ambition and follow your dream to tell the stories you want to tell. Don't wait for anyone else to say you have to do it, because that doesn't work.
And I would just say, honestly, be yourself, which sounds like very corny advice, but I think that you know, the thing that has given me a career and all these amazing experiences making music around the world are the things that I thought would make me too strange to be in the profession initially. I think when you're young, you're rewarded for being like everyone else or making music that's just like everyone else. And those are the people winning prizes. And but as your career progresses, you're rewarded and for doing something completely new and doing something that only you can make. And I think with composers, everyone has a music that only they can make. And it's an easy world to feel like you don't fit into. I mean, we're in this like gilded hall with these like busts of dead white men, and it's easy for, I think, someone like me to feel like she doesn't belong in that profession. But if you can just keep going and again, trust that your particular vision will find an audience and people will connect with it.
But you mean don't try and follow the herd. Try and
exactly. Find the things that make you unique.
Yeah.
And lean into them and don't try to cover them up.
Yeah, brilliant. She's right.
Super. Thank you very much.